The following is a Candlepin Stars and Strikes rebroadcast featuring some of our most memorable programs. Three years ago, the first Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. Bob Moran gets a mark in the last box to beat Pat Pay for the title. In 1990, Paul Berger came up with some late heroics to clinch his win over Al Cloutier. And last year, Pat Pay got it done, winning 4 straight matches, beating Joe Ashline for the championship. Now, starting today, a field of 6 bowlers is standing by to compete in the 1992 Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. The first bowler to qualify was Dave Richards, who capped a 3-match winning streak in October with a 418. In November, it was Stu Bergman, who watched a late comeback by Joe Ashline fall just short. In December, Paul Berger survived a 174 by Tim Lipke, scoring a 437 triple that proved to be the score to beat. Mike Morgan joined the tournament field back in February with a solid 410. And then in March, Tom Morgan scored 6 pins better than his younger brother as he beat Steve Vadnais. And just last week, Glen LeBlanc completed the championship roster. 6 bowlers, more than $3,000 in prize money, a 5-week battle. This is the 1992 Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions.
Yeah, come on! Oh, 20 more! Oh!
From Park Place Lanes in Windham, featuring outstanding Candlepin bowlers from all over New England.
You're gonna hear some noise if this is a strike. Got a shot at it. Yes! Got it in a row! Oh, wow!
Candlepin Stars and Strikes is produced in conjunction with the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association. And now your hosts, Doug Brown and Dan Murphy.
Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to Candlepin Stars and Strikes and to Park Place Lanes here in Windham, New Hampshire. I'm Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy, and this is the time of year we all wait for here on Stars and Strikes on the Winds. 5 weeks starting today, the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, and of course this year we have 2 of them, one in singles and one in doubles. And Dan, this is what everybody points to, and we got a big crowd ready to go.
Big crowd has been here so early in the morning too for the taping session, and I'm excited. The bowlers are ready, the crowd's ready, and let's do it.
All right, we have 6 bowlers, of course. This will be a 5-week series, unlike our ordinary 4-week format. But 6 bowlers, all of whom have won series championships this year on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. And of course, their 3-string totals in winning those matches determined their seeding for this event. And of course, $1,500 is the top prize for the bowler who comes through this event as the overall winner. So let's meet our 2 bowlers for this first of our 5-week series on the singles Stars and Strikes Tournament of Champions. First of all, our number 6 seed from Brighton, Massachusetts, Stu Bergman.
Okay, and Stu winning his ladder championship quite a few weeks ago, averaging 119, is a high single of 185, and a high triple of 446.
And of course, Stu, like all the rest of these guys, have won matches, as we said, here on Stars and Strikes this season, won championship events, and the scores that you'll be seeing later on when we show you the whole series of 6 bowlers are the scores they rolled in those championship programs. Stu's opponent in this first week will be our number 5 seed from Peterborough, New Hampshire, a guy who's been with us a lot this year, Glen LeBlanc.
And the most recent qualifier, averaging 127, has a high single of 190 and a high triple of 451.
All right, big prize money on the line, and of course we do have our bonus ball contest at the end of the show. That's worth $120, but we're going to get right into the bowling. The Tournament of Champions, the first of 3 strings, Stu Bergman and Glen LeBlanc, starts right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to Candlepin Stars and Strikes, the first week of our 4th annual Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, and here is the field. Stu Bergman and Glen LeBlanc today. The winner gets Mike Morgan, who is making his 2nd appearance in the Tournament of Champions. He was here in the first one in 1989. Tom Morgan is our number 3 seed. Dave Richards, our number 2 seed. Both of those gentlemen making their first appearance in the Tournament of Champions. And Paul Berger, that number 1 seeded spot at 437. Paul Berger has been in all 4 Tournament of Champions events. He has won one of them. He won the 1990 event 2 years ago. But right now we're set to get started, and Stu Bergman will get things going on lane 32 here at Park Place. And the first of 5 weeks in our Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions series.
The air is electric. It's quite an event.
Well, we tend to get crowds that like to make a lot of noise anyway, and
That's
that
right.
goes double for the Tournament of Champions.
And some of the contestants will bring a crowd with them. And of course, we have our regulars that show up for all the tapings. Stu missing to the right. 1, 2, and 8 pins. Got the 8 pin out of there.
Going to have Joe Paglia get to work early and clear that loose ball that's come up. So Stu was shoot now at the 1 and 2. Stu Bergman won his series championship, qualified for the show back on November 24th when he beat Joe Ashline. Well, we had a little problem with that loose ball, but I think we got it straightened out now.
Then getting away from everybody.
Take a stick and kill it. And after all that, an $8.
Off target to the left, but not a bad break. The 1, 3, and then he has a 9 and a 10 pins in the back row. A couple pieces of wood next to the head pin should help.
In that championship match back in November, Stu is off target to the right. Stu beat Joe Ashline by 3, 380 to 377. Joe Ashline had the last at bat in that match and came up needing a double strike in the 10th to have a chance to win, and he threw the first strike but was unable to throw the second one. Now Glen LeBlanc.
And he drops 9, leaves the 9 pin.
Glen has been here a total of 10 times between Stars and Strikes and Stars and Strikes doubles this year. He's made 5 appearances on each program. Take it back, he made 6 appearances on Stars and Strikes doubles, 4 on the singles program, and Glen starts with a spare, a very difficult one.
He tried to get through the 2 pieces of wood, but clipped the one on the right and watch it come off the sidewall. First mark of the match and the early lead for Glen LeBlanc. He's right back in the pocket, wants that 6 pin to go down. It's not going to happen. 7 pin drop on the spare.
And Glen can't make it happen this time. Glen overall with a record here on Stars and Strikes of 7 and 6. And in singles competition, he has averaged 129 here on Stars and Strikes. Stu Bergman making just his 3rd overall appearance on the program today. He was here on those back-to-back weeks when he won his series championship back in November. He beat Dan Broder the first week and then beat Joe Ashline for the title. Those were the only 2 times he's been here.
So he's undefeated.
That's right.
This time he pulls it to the left.
Talking to Stu before the match, he was saying that he was glad that he qualified early for the Tournament of Champions. He said he hasn't been bowling quite as well lately as he was earlier in the season. So he was hoping to somehow break out of that here. He's having a little problem with the head pin right now.
Well, there it goes. Got a little break there. Let's see, the 9 and the 10 pins, and he still has some work ahead of him. Tough shot. Almost they have to go with the 10 pin. I don't know. You probably play the 3 or 4 pieces to the left.
Yes.
Oh, he does get the 10 pin from behind. It's his first mark. Just nudging the 10 pin from behind.
First mark for Stu, one for each bowler here in the early going. We're so happy you could join us for our 4th annual Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. Of course, all presented by the folks at Tri-State Megabucks. Presenting sponsors of Stars and Strikes and Stars and Strikes doubles throughout the season. And it's been a long and fruitful association between Tri-State Megabucks and those of us here at the Winds, and we always want to pass along our thanks and appreciation to the folks at the Megabucks offices. And of course, we know that a lot of you take a shot every week, and as the folks at Tri-State Megabucks suggest, just imagine being rich. Glen throws the ball very hard, and sometimes the pins go down in a hurry.
And he's looking at the 2 and the 5. All kinds of roadblocks in front. Let's see if it's going to help. It certainly does. His second mark, both spares, the 1st and the 4th frame. Just catches all of that wood to help him with the 3 and the 5. Now the fill on the spare for Stu Bergman. Really has got to make the adjustment, try to get on the head pin, especially with that first ball.
There we go.
That's a little better.
Yes.
You heard it from the crowd. That's better.
Much better first ball that time for Stu, and he gets a 9-drop on the spare, even more importantly.
Now, he may want to shoot the piece of wood to the left, because I think it's frozen against the 5 pin. Stay away from the one on the right, might deflect the ball away. That's what he's doing. Nice shot. Very sharp in those 2 balls. 2 marks in a row for Stu.
For those of you who perhaps might have missed them or are relatively new to Stars and Strikes,
There we go. There we go.
as Stu has another big fill, this time 8. The first Tournament of Champions back in the spring of 1989 was won by Bob Moran of Billerica, Mass, as he knocked off Pat Pay in the finals. The 1990 championship won by Paul Berger, as I mentioned earlier, as he beat Al Cloutier. And 3 in a row for Stu Bergman. Nice shot.
Very nice. 5 and 10. Uses the wood effectively. Drives the ball through the wood for the 5 pin, and the wood takes the 10.
About to mention also that the 1991 Tournament of Champions, last year's event, was won by Pat Pay, who came up from the number 4 seed spot and won 4 straight matches, beating Tim Lipke, Paul Berger, Gary Carrington, and Joe Ashline in a row.
Beat 4 stiffs, huh?
Yeah, that's a pretty good winning streak right there.
That's right. You can win 4 in a row, which is hard to do, but to win 4 in a row against the likes of those 4 bowlers, that's quite an accomplishment.
We haven't had anybody win 4 in a row since then.
That's right. 60, so Stu Bergman takes the lead by a pin. 60 through 5 for Glen LeBlanc. Just going to try to match the mark already posted by Stu Bergman. 4, 5, 7, 8, and 10 pins, and all kinds of wood. Going to try to just get him to move left and right, just like that.
So he matches Stu's mark in the 6th. 3 marks for each bowler here. Stu Bergman working on 3 in a row. Just misses the head pin. It's a pretty nice break out of it, though.
The 1, 3, 10 left, 7 pin drop on the spare, as Doug said, and not a bad spare leave. First thought is to grab the head pin. Of course, he'd probably like to put the ball right in the 1, 3 pocket. So the streak of marks will stop.
And a 9. Stu Bergman is from Brighton, Mass, down in Boston. Stu works as an accountant, does a lot of his bowling at the Colonial Bowl in Weymouth.
Just a little full in head pin that time. Seemed to break from left to right for Stu. 3, 6, 7 left. but a nice piece of wood in between the 3 and the 6. If he's on the 3 with the angle of the wood, he's got a real good shot at making the 7. Oh, he's too far right.
Hoping it would jump. It jumped, but not enough to make a difference in the shot. Stu is left with the .37, and he'll take the 3. So Glen LeBlanc now comes up working on a spare, hoping to perhaps retake the lead.
Well, 8-pin drop will tie it up. Anything over that, he'll take the lead again.
And he settles for 4. Glen is from Peterborough, New Hampshire, and he's been wearing out the roads between Peterborough and here in Windham this year.
Put an autopilot now and get down here by himself. His car is so used to coming down.
Does most of his bowling at Bowling Acres in Peterborough, and that's where he's working also as a mechanic. And he takes a 9 box, so Stu Bergman maintains the lead. It's 4 right now.
Well, he got a break there when the 6-pin went down.
Oh, how about
And
that?
another
The 2-pin goes also.
Got the 7-pin with a nice piece of wood in front.
Spare in the 8th. Stu back on the head pin, and he may take them all. He will.
Nice light hit on the head pin on the right-hand side. Just barely touches the head pin, but he gets a lot of mixing action. Leaves the 3-pin. Wood finally comes over, knocks that one out of there for the strike.
Well, we've talked a lot, Dan, about light hits here at Park Place Lanes, and that's a perfect example of what can happen.
Just want to keep the pins on the playing surface, and they'll do a lot of damage for you.
This is going to be a difficult shot, though. The 2-4.
It's got a shot.
6-10. Gave it a try.
Good fill on the strike. 8. Gives him 114, 122 now, and 123.
So that's how Stu will open this first round of the Tournament of Champions with a 123. It's 4 pins over his average. And big strike by Glen LeBlanc, although the 8-pin tried to stay up.
I thought the 8-pin was going to call you a liar, Doug. Like here, there's no doubt about it. And then look at that. Stood it right back up.
So Glen LeBlanc will retake the lead here, and he almost throws a double, leaving a solid 4-pin. And the spare.
So he's going to finish with 3 in a row. He's at 123 through 9, 133 in the 10th plus the bonus ball. So he'll have a 10-pin lead plus this fill.
Glen earned his way here just last week in the last opportunity of the season when he knocked off Neil Gosselin 399 to 367, and he may carry another pin or two here. Let's see. It'll be an 8 fill for Glen and a 141. So with 58 pins in the last 3 boxes, Glen LeBlanc churns out a 141, and he's got an 18-pin lead after 1 here on Stars and Strikes. We'll be back. To start the middle game, Glen LeBlanc. Glen coming off his 141 opening game. Big spare.
Left off. Started where we left off, I should say. A nice spear. That's 4 marks in a row if you go back to last string. Nice He's right back in the pocket again, and another 9-pin drop. Leaves himself just a 10-pin. And I dare say he's found the range. He's right on that.
Ooh. Boy, all of a sudden, Glen LeBlanc has marks in 5 consecutive boxes here. Unfortunately, the change of string came in the middle.
Off to the left, cluster of 5. 1, 2, 3, 5, and 10 for Stu Bergman. Looks good.
Yes. Well, he got a nice break on that first ball when he pulled it way to the left, but he ended up with a leave that he could make, and he took advantage.
Strike ball here. Come on.
That's mark number 5 for Stu Bergman.
He's off target again to the left, but a 5-pin drop again. Similar to the shot that Glen LeBlanc converted the first box.
And a nice 10 for Stu, taking out the 1-7. Take another look at that.
Ball off the head pin into the 7-pin.
A ball moving a little bit more slowly than Glen LeBlanc's ball, which probably helped him make that shot.
You're absolutely right. 1, 3, 10 for Glen if he's going to keep his string going. 7-pin drop on that spare.
If you were with us last week and saw Glen qualify with his series championship victory, you heard him say, well, I think I've got this figured out. He said, you got to come in as the #1 seed. As he makes his 3rd mark in a row. Glen had been with us, as I mentioned, so many times this year, but he seemed like he'd always come in as a #4 seed or a #5 seed. And of course, that's very difficult. You know, every once in a while, a bowler will come up the ladder and win several matches in a row, but certainly you give yourself a better chance if you're up near the top.
Well, I'll tell you, he's on fire right now. That's 4 in a row in this game, 7 in a row over the 2 games.
And overall, his 10th mark in 14 boxes. Stu Bergman.
That was a lob.
It was. Another 5 drop also. Stu will reset. Of the 6 bowlers that are in the Tournament of Champions field, 4 of them qualified out of the #1 spot. We also have a #2 seed. That was Stu Bergman. And a #3 seed, Dave Richards. This now will be for a 10 for Stu. The 1, 2, 6, and 10. And he'll take a 9.
Almost looks like Stu has got to become a little more aggressive out there in the lanes. Almost look like he's kind of steering that ball a little bit.
Yep, coming
Break
back
there.
at him again. And he winds up with a triangle.
Problem is the piece of wood to the left. Wood in the back would help, but the one in the front is going to be a difficult one. He's going to try to get by it. He does, and leaves the 9-pin.
And we will take a break right here as Stu Bergman converts for a 10. Glen LeBlanc in the lead, almost at the halfway point. Don't go away. Glen LeBlanc, a little warm.
Smoking.
He started this second game with 4 straight marks. He finished the first game with 3 in a row. He's got 10 marks already, and he's got a chance at number 11 right here.
3 5-pin, 3 and 5 pins left. Piece of wood behind it. He's right on it.
Oh, yes.
Unbelievable.
83 plus a ball in the 5th.
He's only had 1 strike. All the rest have been spares.
Oh, he's right on the head pin again, and probably deserved a strike on that one. On these 5 consecutive spares, Dan, he's now had 3 9 drops, an 8, and a 7 drop. And he's at 92 through 5, and he's got a spare in the 6th. 6 in a row for Glen LeBlanc.
This is when you'd like to have a little bit of defense in the game of Candlepin bowling. And at this point, Stu would probably want to change his defense. Unfortunately, it's
Go to
an
a zone,
offensive game.
something.
Yeah, something.
Well, Stu trying to get something started. He'll shoot at the 3, 4, 9. Make it the 2, 4, 9 with Wood. And he's pulled it. The runner-up in this match will take home the 6th place check of $100. The winner, of course, moves on to face our number 4 seed, Mike Morgan, next week, on the way up to a possible shot at the overall first place check, which is $1,500. Stu has been specializing in 5 drops, it seems, lately.
And some of these leaves, the 1, 3, and 2 or 3 in the back row. This time he has a 7, 8, 10. Got to catch the head pin. He's just having a lot of trouble catching the head pin. Of course, it doesn't help when your opponent's throwing 6 in a row against you either. Oh,
Made the 10. But he needs marks. Glen LeBlanc is threatening to run away with this thing.
Ball comes off the wall for the 10 pin. The story now is Glen LeBlanc. Can he make it 7 marks in a row in this game and 10 overall, or 11 overall? He's right in there, and a tough break.
Another 8 drop, though, but this time
4-8.
yeah, he's got something a little bit more challenging to work on, the 4-10. Now there's Wood in between and Wood up front a little bit, but I don't know if it's...
He probably is going to play the Wood in front of the 10 pin, try to snap it. However, I might even go at the 4 pin with the Wood behind it and have it come off the wall and back across. Now he's going after that one.
Ooh, the ball came over, but not enough.
Let's see if this 4 pin flies. Oh, we'll never know.
119 through 7.
Great game. Oh, he's got 3 more frames.
Right back on the head pin again, and look at that leave.
As quickly as they come, they can disappear. Now, those are 2 pretty good balls on the head pin. A little full, probably. But just didn't get a real good spare leave in either box. Last frame or this frame. Going to try to snap the Wood. Well, it's the first time in a long time Stu's come up against 2 open frames. He's really going to have to start marking.
Talk about the fact that the winner of this match gets Mike Morgan next week. But we want to remind you to stay tuned right after this match for the first week of our Stars and Strikes Doubles Tournament of Champions. And Mike Morgan will be in that match, as he, along with Paul St. Pierre, are the number 6 seeded team, and they will face Phil Clough and Tom O'Brien, starting at 1 o'clock today right here on the Winds.
3, 5, 6 triangle, and there's a mark for Stu. That's what he's going to have to do. Still has about a string and a half to go, a game and a half, and got to put some offense up there.
Well, especially right here, because he's got a chance to cut into the lead, because Glen was finally open for two frames in a row. Only the 2nd time that's happened, by the way, in the match, that Glen's been open twice in a row.
A 7 pin drop, this time the triangle in the left-hand corner, 4, 7, 8. And a piece of wood, he's going to have to make a decision. Try to go by it or sweep the wood into the 3 pins. He's trying the wood and misses it to the right.
Went right in between. barely room for the ball to go through there, it would seem.
You want to be around the red line.
Right there. And Stu gets 1 mark on the board, and here's what's happened now. That's what he was trying to do on the second ball. Glen will shoot at the 1-3-6. No, he won't.
He'll shoot the 6-pin.
He'll
Doug.
shoot at the 6-pin. Let me change that. That was very strange.
I don't know if it's any easier because of the angle of the wood.
Nope.
Well, wait a minute. When things go good, things go good.
Man.
Things are going your way.
Even Glen can't believe that one. He's trying to wave it off. But I think we're going to give it to him anyway.
Unbelievable. When you're bowling good, the breaks come your way also. Right back in the pocket, this time 6-pin drop. He's going to look at the 3-6-4-7. Already at 144 through 9. Almost cut that over.
Well, he'll be in the 150s, and he'll have an outstanding total after 2, and he'll also have a big lead. 152 for Glen LeBlanc, 2-string total 293. He had 7 marks in that second game, the first 6 of them consecutively. And Stu Bergman is just having all kinds of trouble finding the head pin.
The timing just isn't there for him today, at least so far.
Want to thank our 2 participating sponsors during the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. The folks at Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan, who of course have been with us many times throughout the year. We want to express our appreciation to Emmett Horgan and all the folks there. Come to Salem and save. Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan in Salem, New Hampshire. And also the folks at Somerville Lumber. Get it right the first time. Somerville Lumber. Stu Bergman now working in the 10th after the 10 box in the 9th. Trying to make a shot happen here, and he does.
It's a great shot. Great spare for Stu Bergman in the 10th. Gives him 111 and a bonus ball to come.
Mark number 7 in the match for Stu. All but 1 have been spares. But Glen LeBlanc is going to have a lead in the neighborhood of 50 pins going into the second game. An 8 fill, 119, and a 2-string total of 242. So the lead, in fact, is 51 after 2. We've got a game to go here on Stars and Strikes. Don't go away. Well, Stu Bergman with a lot of supporters here, and they're trying to get him fired up for this third game. He's got a large task ahead because Glen LeBlanc is bowling very, very well, and Stu is going to have to somehow make up 51 pins here in the third game. And he spares in the first. Well, Stu is quite capable of throwing the big score. In fact, the first string he ever bowled here on Stars and Strikes, Stan, was a 157.
Well, he's got to be thinking in those terms right now.
He's back on the head pin, but not much of a break.
Well, the wood kind of settled down a little bit for him. 2 pieces of wood out front that are touching each other. He might go just below the red line and have a real shot at making this. Oh, he's too far down. Well, his body English leads me to think that's where he wanted the ball. Thought maybe he could get by the wood and clip the wood and the ball, taking the 7-pin at the same time.
But instead, it's a 10 box. Boy, Glen LeBlanc is just taking the extra pin practically every time.
Yeah, a little bit of drought toward the end of that last game. A little drought, yeah. He had 1 mark out of the 4 boxes, but he's back on it. Spare up in the first. Cruising right now, 141, 152, 293. Pretty good 2-game total considering I bowl about 312 in the other night. One of my leagues for 3 games. Yeah, and he's right back in the pocket. 9-pin drop, 7-pin.
Altogether, that's 4 9-drops Glen has had on spares, and he converts another one. Was there a doubt in your mind?
No, I had my finger on the spare button on the computer. And he's just throwing with so much confidence that he just thinks he's going to make every shot too. And that's kind of scary if you're his opponent. And what can you say? Stu just having a tough day.
Looked like he was starting to put it together along that midway point of the first game. He put 3 marks together, but since then, really hasn't been able to mount anything. Reminder, we'll have $120 in the bonus ball contest at the end of the show. Haven't had a winner for quite some time. That TV of ours is filling up with postcards, and we've decided that since it's the Tournament of Champions that if we get a winner at some point during these 5 weeks, we're going to keep all those cards in there, so you'll get a second chance while we're still in the Tournament of Champions. Normally we empty it out if we get a winner. And Stu takes everything but the 8-pin. $10, 47 through 4. Talking about that first prize check, Dan, of $1,500. These 6 bowlers comprising our field of the Tournament of Champions have combined won more than $15,000 in prize money here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes.
Pretty good piece of change.
Glen trying to make it 3 in a row and doesn't get it. He's got 15 marks already. The highest score that Glen has ever rolled here was a 451 back in December when he beat Paul Willits. That day he rolled a 147, 169, 135.
Off target that time to the right. He's too concerned at this point. Still riding a 60-pin advantage. That was a lob. So give him a 6.
And we will break. Glen LeBlanc has added a few to his lead. 6 frames to go. We'll be back. Stu Bergman. Trying right now to just, if he can't make his final score a little bit better. But in addition to having trouble with the head pin, he hasn't had many breaks either. And now he's got the 7, 9, and 10. Waiting for the wood to settle down a bit. And he's got it.
The shades of being pretty sharp, but as a whole, if we talk, well, I'm sure we'll talk to Stu after the match, and he'll say he's having trouble pulling the ball, especially to the left. That time his ball breaks back for him. That's what he has to do. Just a matter if there's enough time. I dare say he's going to have to pretty well mark out. There's 2.
We've only had 2 strikes in this match, one for each bowler.
That's what we really would like is a double strike. You would think we're due for some. Caliber bowler we have and the number of strikes we've had so far.
And LeBlanc back on the head pin. The 4, make it the 5, 6, and 10. Got it. Mark number 16 for Glen LeBlanc.
I had figured out one time, I figured in 30 boxes, if you had 15 marks, you should be pretty close to, or if not, over the 400 triple. And he's only needs 107. He's already at about 118 clip. When you start throwing half the boxes marks, it's pretty tough. Well, I'm just talking here and fouled up the score.
That was a 6 fill for Glen and a 9. So 77 through 6. Stu Bergman working on a mark, just catches the head pin. Well, it looked like more would happen.
Problem here is probably going to be the 8 pin.
And the 7 pin.
And the 7. A little low on the piece of wood.
2 problems. He came very close to cutting that over.
I know. The 9 into the 10. Seven into the 8, 8 into the 7, I should say. And there's a spread eagle. We haven't seen that today. Stu's probably saying, why do I have to show it to you? Next week, one of the Morgan brothers coming in, that being Mike.
And the week after that, the other Morgan brother comes in, Tom. Of course, I know they've been talking a lot of trash to each other leading up to the Tournament of Champions. They would very much like to face each other, but Glen LeBlanc is going to have something to say about that next week as he will face Mike Morgan. It's not
4, 6, 7.
I was going to say it's not mathematically over yet, but Glen's certainly in charge here with a 45-pin lead coming down to the final 4. And he's working against a couple of open frames.
'86 through 7, 45-pin advantage.
No, and Glen pulled that one way off to the right. That's about the first bad ball he's thrown. Oh, how about that? He took out the 1, rather the 3 and the 7.
3 and the 7. Left. Threw the 3-pin in between all those, that cluster of 5 pins right there to get the 7-pin. And a 7 box, 93.
Well, going to the final 2 with a 43-pin lead, what this means is that if Stu Bergman can throw a double strike, he will force Glen LeBlanc to at least keep the ball on the lane in the final 2 boxes. But he really needs a mark here in order to make that a possibility. And it won't happen. Not Stu's day, unfortunately. He's been waiting around since November for the chance to come back, and it just didn't work out for him. Takes an 8 box, 109 through 9. He's at 351 with a box to go. But for Glen LeBlanc, an outstanding 3-string total. And he continues his fine bowling as he has been in a groove, appearing here a lot on Stars and Strikes this year. 8 box, 117, 359 for Stu Bergman. And now the victory lap for Glen LeBlanc. He will face Mike Morgan next Sunday at 12 noon in week 2 of the Tournament of Champions. Don't forget, coming up in just a few minutes, week 1 of the Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions. It'll be Mike Morgan and Paul St. Pierre against Phil Clough and Tom O'Brien. Got an outstanding field in the Doubles Tournament of Champions, too. We're pretty excited about that. This is the first time we've had our Doubles Tournament of Champions, and boy, we've got some great bowlers in that field as well.
103 through 9. So 396 plus this ball.
The doubles field includes Gary Carrington and Jack Ray, Joe Ashline and Steve Vadney, Mike Morrill and Jack Quinn, Norm Bork and Ed Emerson, and the 2 teams that we already mentioned that will face off in just a few minutes. And Glenn just misses the spare in the 10th. So he'll end up with something around 420. A 119, and it will be a 412 rather. 412 is the total up on the board for Glen LeBlanc, and a solid win over Stu Bergman in week 1 of the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. We'll be back in a minute with the bonus ball contest. Back on Stars and Strikes in the Tournament of Champions. Week 1 is over, and Stu Bergman, the check for $100, and he actually had the lead there in the early going and looked like maybe you were going to turn it around, and then Glenn just caught fire on you.
Yeah, started off a little slow and really couldn't get going from there. Glenn was hot, and he was tough to catch.
Very hot. Thanks very much for coming. Congratulations, and we hope to see you again next season.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
That's Stu Bergman. And now Glen LeBlanc is going to roll our bonus ball contest as we're running short on time, so we're going to have Glenn do it very quickly here, and we're going to try and give away $120 here real quick. I hope we have your postcards in. And 7 is the number, and it is not a winner for Helen Martell of Suncook, New Hampshire. Helen's guess was 6, so Helen will be sending you a consolation gift instead from N&R Trophy of Winchendon, Mass. And Mr. LeBlanc, a fine little run there, especially at the end of the first and beginning of the second.
Oh, I had a good run, from the end of the first string to the beginning of the third string. And boy, I made a cardinal sin in bowl, and I sort of fell asleep. Good thing I was ahead as far as I was. And if I do that next week, I'm going to get buried, so I better show up next week.
You've heard of this guy, Mike Morgan.
Oh, he's been a top-notch bowler for many, many years. Since I was a kid, Mike, sorry. But he's a really good bowler. He's been bowling great all year. I better bring my best.
We'll see you next week. Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations with a big 412, and Dan Murphy, as we take a look at the ladder and another look to what's coming up next week, it'll be Glen LeBlanc and Mike Morgan. I think Glenn knows what he's up against.
Well, I think Glenn summed it up as good as I could do it, and he's got to bring his best bowler against one of the better bowlers in the Candlepin game.
All right, that's next week in week 2 of our Stars and Strikes Tournament of Champions, but don't go away, because coming up in just a few minutes, the opening match of the Doubles Tournament of Champions right here from Park Place Lanes. Until then, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew, Doug Brown, so long.